When I think of limitlessness, there was no limitation that was imposed upon me as a child in what I could do, what I could think, what I could achieve.
Today you are sitting at the heart of DPI. Its origin is private equity. Now it has this phenomenal venture capital platform. I think here in Egypt, you've already done 3 to 4 deals this year alone.
In that 12-month time, we did 12 transactions. We doubled the portfolio. So we have deployed about $50 million. The ambition is to support early stage companies in Egypt, but we can also invest in companies in the Middle East and also across Africa. I had always viewed the connection between capital and impact to be the foundation for my career. I mean, one fun fact is DPI has deployed just about $1 billion in Egypt alone. I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk about this story if they hadn't have given me that.
Welcome in the Valley. I'm your host today, and my name is Ibrahim Sanya. We have an amazing show today, but before that, a gentle reminder. Press that subscribe button, join the community of funders and founders, changing sports, tech, entertainment, and fashion from Africa to the rest of the world. And never miss a thing. Enjoy the show.
Welcome in the Valley. If you're looking for vibrant, energetic entrepreneurs changing the face of funders, founders in the world of technology, sports, and entertainment, you have come home. Today, we have an eminent guest, a friend of mine, coming from the US, where she's originally from, but she's based in Nigeria today. She flew in from the US to record this episode. Her story is unique. You will love her. She is the managing partner of DPI Venture Capital today. But prior to that, she had an intriguing life at Goldman Sachs, at Vanguard, and at Action Venture Lab, changing impact investing in financial service. But tech today is taking a completely different turn with her intervention. Her name is Ashley Lewis. Ashley, great to have you with us today.
I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is mine. This has been long overdue.
Yes.
You and I go back soon a decade, and I think we were introduced because of sport. So before we go into that leaf of yours around sport, why don't you start by picking a word to define Ashley? So it needs to not be linked to your passport, not linked to your gender, not linked to your profession, but just a word. And you need to tell us why you're picking it. It needs to define you.
So the word that I would choose is abundance. The reason why I would choose that is because I think it is the common thread across everything that I've touched, everything that touches me, and also what I stand for. So whether that is in my mindset, in my work, and how I like to connect with others, having an abundance mindset, and then also kind of allowing flexibility and limitlessness to the way that I approach life is how I would describe myself.
And that I love the word abundance, limitlessness, boundlessness that you use. Is there any member in your family or in your immediate heritage that has contributed to that desire and attraction towards abundance?
Well, I would definitely say, and maybe if I preface this to kind of talk a little bit about where I come from and
Please.
who I am. So I was raised in a very multicultural home. My dad is African American. My mom is Portuguese American.
Beautiful.
And having just like rich heritage on both sides, I feel like my parents definitely contributed to that mindset. They allowed me to explore. I was an only child. So I was allowed to kind of go out, be in the world. I think this is when, children could actually go outside and go roam freely.
Not on their screen.
Exactly. And my parents very much encouraged that. And so when I think of limitlessness, there was no limitation that was imposed upon me as a child in what I could do, what I could think, what I could achieve. And I think that is just something that continues today.
Wow, that's a rich, rich background to come from. How does that background land in Nigeria?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll say this. My upbringing was one that was very much centered around sports. So 4 men in my family played professional football
Wow.
in the US or in Canada, NFL, CFL, USFL, and sports, teamwork, also commitment, not giving up. All of that is a big part of who I am and also the household that I was raised in. And I think my father allowed me, and I should actually mention this, all of those men ended up, with the exception of my grandfather, ended up having girls.
Wow. Wow.
So all of us girls were trained as athletes.
Yeah, the gene had to be strong
Exactly.
in there.
But also translated that into work or school or day-to-day living. And I think one of the things that, and I mean, getting to Nigeria was a far step from where I'm at today in my life story. But I think one of the biggest things as the catalyst to get me into finance that then allowed me to go internationally was my parents actually ended up getting divorced. And I was around 16 years old. And I decided then that I really wanted to take charge of my own financial livelihood and also my life. And so I wanted to learn about money, but I didn't know who could teach me. So I created a CV. I wish I had that CV today to see what I actually put on it when I was 16. And I went to my local bank and I set a meeting with the manager, which they quickly asked, like, why are you here to meet with us? And they canceled the first meeting. I set another meeting. And finally, the manager met with me. And I asked him for an internship. And he's like, how old are you? I don't even think I'm allowed to hire you. And I said, I think you can, like, ask your compliance department. And he said, how do you know we have a compliance department? And I got my first job in finance.
Wow.
I was 16. And so that was all happening in the US. But I had this ambition to always be bigger than my community, go further than where I was living. And I actually decided for college, after that experience working in the bank, I went to school at an HBCU, a historically Black college. For those listeners that might not be familiar, these are historical institutions in America that promoted education for African Americans before we were allowed to even go into predominantly white university systems. And that historical relevance is still very present today. And so I actually went to school at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. And I studied international finance. And I told everybody on campus not everybody on campus, but I told all of my friends I was going to take my job abroad. But I had never been abroad. It's not like my family was gallivanting around the world. It's not like we were in Europe on our family vacations. The best we did was go to Mexico and drink margaritas, And fast forward, years, I ended up leaving the US and forging a new path in Africa. And 15 years later, I'm still here today.
Fabulous, fabulous. It's amazing to see all those dots you were able to rally and bring you outside the country like you had dreamt and manifested.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we got introduced, you and I, the person that introduced us, the first thing she told me is like, she's great. She's in finance like you, but also she loves sports investing like you. She's invested in an American football team in Africa. It was before you joined force with us in basketball with Cape Town Tigers. So tell us a bit about how that investment in American football happened and what triggered you to make it.
So when I moved to Nigeria, this was 2017. This was, Nigeria was kind of coming up as a new tech hub in Africa. And when I moved, I met this ragtag group of people that just loved American football. And they were playing flag football recreationally in Lagos. And I said, I know nothing about Nigeria, really. I was just getting introduced to the country. But I know a lot about this sport because of my family heritage and upbringing. And I love football. And so I joined this group. We were playing on the weekends. Eventually, you get a lot of ambitious people together. They're going to make a tournament of it. They're going to put some money behind it. And we ended up creating, with my co-founder, the Lagos Rebels, which was one of the football franchises in this, what was a recreational kind of football league. 8 years later, that's now kind of moved into this semi-pro flag football group. And our team is still one of the most successful franchises in Lagos. And I think what I'm most proud of is Nigeria. Some people know this, but flag football will be an Olympic sport at the 2028 Olympics. And Nigeria, and there's a group of people that have been doing a lot of work about getting the Nigeria team qualified for the Olympics. And some of the players that had never touched a football before they played with the Lagos Rebels are now on that team, now helping qualify Nigeria. So excited about that. Yeah.
Actually, the final of Flag Football Africa happened here.
Yes.
It was, I went to attend with OC and the team, and I think Nigeria.
Yes.
Won.
Men and women.
Men and women, both. That's correct. That's correct. Amazing. And obviously, we did basketball together. And I am aware that beyond those two, within your immediate family, American football is strong. Are you guys doing any family excursion towards watching the NFL games when you go back?
Yes. So some of the men in my family have played for the Vikings. My grandfather's in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Some of the members of my family played in the Canadian Football League. And so this is the glue that binds our family. It's any given Sunday, you will see us watching football.
Any given Sunday is definitely deep there.
Exactly. And a few years ago, so my uncle is still very active with the Vikings. And so a few years ago, we all went and watched a game. And we have the Lewis Sports Foundation, which promotes student scholars, but also other activities in local communities. And so it's still something that's near and dear to our heart. And every time I go to the States, if it's football season, I don't care what city I'm in, I'm going to go get a ticket to an NFL game.
Well, it's wonderful to see you radiate when sports becomes a topic. And obviously, thanks to that introduction, we started jiving on our other passion, which was technology. And obviously today you are sitting at the heart of DPI that at its origin is private equity. And now it has this phenomenal venture capital platform. I think here in Egypt, you've already done 3 to 4 deals this year alone. So tell us about that chapter, but do emphasize where they poach you from, because obviously you were already quite active in the fintech space.
Yeah, happy to. So I'll share a little bit about my personal journey into venture capital, because when I was in university, venture capital wasn't really a career. And when I graduated, as you mentioned, I went on to work at Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, quit my job at Goldman and joined the Peace Corps. And that's what brought me to Africa. I lived in rural Togo on $8 a day for over 2 years.
Which years were this?
This was 2010 to 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So we didn't even have really Instagram or...
Was it like Rod Norman there at the time in Togo or not yet?
Was EcoBank there? Is that...
Rod Norman was a friend of mine that lived in Togo as well.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Might have been. The reason why I bring up that story is because I had always viewed the connection between capital and impact to be the foundation for my career. I never set out to say I want to be a venture capitalist or I want to work for a private equity fund. I wanted to connect those two very important subject matters in areas like Africa or Southeast Asia. And I ended up getting my first venture capital job after my time at Togo. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I was learning everything on the job, right? It was not, at the time, it's not like you go through a course and you're like, this is how you become a venture capitalist. And I worked for a fund called LGT at the time. This was their like version 1.0, LGT Venture Philanthropy. This was their version 1.0 of their impact approach. And I actually left Africa and I moved to Asia.
Wow.
And I lived in Thailand.
I did not know this.
Yeah. So I actually started my venture career in Thailand. And then I was itching to come back to Africa. I was like, I know my people. I know where I need to be. So I came back and was on their Africa team for some time. Just fast forward a little bit, I ended up joining Axion Venture Lab, which is a premier fintech and financial inclusion-focused fund. And I had already started doing financial inclusion-focused investing when I was at LGT, and this was just a perfect fit for me. So that's what got me to Nigeria. And this was this is 2017. So, a $200,000 or $500,000 check was significant back then. And, we were doing seed rounds and leading some of the early stage investments across Africa. I helped lead their expansion into Egypt as well in 2019. And this was before a lot of the international capital was coming here. And about 5 years into that journey, I was a partner leading the work in Africa. DPI and I started to interact some more together. And quietly, some of the partners within the firm were making angel investments and exploring the early stage venture side of the industry, and also seeing what it could look like to expand the platform from just private equity into another asset class. And so I worked with the partnership to craft and design the strategy for the venture capital group and joined 3.5 years ago to do that.
Amazing. Amazing. So obviously that those partners is how we got connected because we were investing with them. I think in that portfolio, that's why over time we ended up being in Cylinder.
Yeah.
Which is a super exciting company. Omar was here a few days ago. I had the pleasure of having him on the cast. But more importantly, you guys have grown this portfolio in 3 years to be in MNT Halan, to also add Calcium, and then MoneyPoint. So tell us a bit more about the portfolio, how you guys are going, what's ahead.
Sure.
Because you guys have been active.
Very active. So just for context, DPI has been around for about 18 years now. And 15 years of that time was focused exclusively on private equity. And so managing about $3 billion and companies reaching over 40 African countries. So truly Pan-African, not just the key hubs that we always hear about. And over that time, digitization was really at the core of driving a lot of our more recent work. So helping our legacy portfolio companies digitize and optimize, but then investing directly in technology businesses. So some of those companies that you mentioned, MNT Halan here in Egypt, or MoneyPoint in Nigeria, we're seeing a lot of success in technology. And that helped us really usher in the era of VC at DPI as well. So when I joined, we set out on a path to really expand the platform, realizing that venture capital is going to be different than how DPI had operated in the past in the private equity space. But the vision was to build a seed to sale platform for Africa, one large platform that could service companies through different funding needs, through different growth needs. And I think that we're very well suited to do that. Now, on the venture capital side, where we operate is we can invest in companies from pre-seed through Series C. So we can write a check as low as $500,000 up to $10 million. And that's really unusual for VC funds in Africa. Usually you'll see very hyper-specialized micro funds that are doing great scouting work, and we need those micro funds to exist, or the A, B funds and beyond. Our goal was to say that working with DPI, you could be funded all the way to potentially IPO, and also work with a firm that has experience in actually exiting companies. We have done that whether it's an IPO, whether it's a sale to a sovereign or through a strategic or even a management buyout as well. Now, our VC fund, since we officially launched, so there is the process of getting things set up and then launching, which we did last year. And in that 12-month time, we did 12 transactions. We doubled the portfolio. So we have deployed about $50 million in Egypt. We did our first Pan-African investment this past summer, which we haven't announced yet, but you'll be one of the first to know. And our focus is really on fintech and embedded finance. So going back to my story working at Axion, focused exclusively on fintech and financial inclusion, just running that thread, and also DPI, investing in a lot of fintech businesses, M&T Halan or Optasia, EFT Corp, MoneyPoint. Bringing all of those learnings to some of our earlier stage companies is key. The way that I look at our VC strategy is there is this cornerstone here in Egypt. We have Central Bank of Egypt. We also have a lot of local LP capital here.
True and true.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the ambition is to support early stage companies in Egypt, but we can also invest in companies in the Middle East and also across Africa, which we're doing now.
Very cool, very cool. And I know that BTech is also on the private equity side?
Exactly. So BTech, also Kazion. I mean, one fun fact is DPI has deployed just about $1 billion in Egypt alone.
Wow, out of the total AUM.
Yeah.
So that's a significant.
It's a significant amount of exposure. It's one where we've realized exits. We've seen a lot of growth here. And that's why when we were setting up our venture capital strategy, having Egypt as a cornerstone.
Fantastic. That's what I keep on telling people whenever I go to the GCC. They're like, Egypt, why? And our constant thesis is, if you look at your entire Arabian Peninsula and you include Egypt, although it's in the African continent, you basically say that from the sheer population size, if you take all those GCC countries, they basically don't compete. Because the next largest one, when you exclude Iran because of the current situation, is Saudi.
Yes.
So you see the gap between 105 or 110 and 30 million.
Exactly.
None of them, they're all sub 30. And if you look at technology as an industry, it fundamentally falls underneath the consumer space. And that's why if you look prior to last year, 50% of the unicorns came from here. So now Saudi is picking up in the pace because the last 12 to 15 months, there's been a few. But if you look at from 2018 to 2024, whether it was Fowry, Swivel, the one that's on your portfolio, M&T, there was only about 6. So 3 came from here. So fundamentally, this region is going to continue to have the biggest companies, but most importantly, the talent.
Absolutely.
Because basically you go to Dubai, you go to Qatar, you go to Saudi. A lot of time you go into the founders team or the top management team, you find again, Egyptians.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing to see that you guys, prior to the tech wave, were already quite committed and quite pregnant with the destination.
100%. And I couldn't agree more. I think, one, you have a fantastic talent base here. But Egypt ends up being the nexus to connect both regions, right?
Correct.
And we're already seeing our companies expanding into UAE, Oman, Saudi, but then also
south.
South, also laterally across North Africa as well. And so there's something to be said about the the mindset and the flexibility of the founding or the founders that we see here to be able to pull that off, I'm very bullish and really excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, when you live here, and because I spend a lot of time here and some time in the UAE, I tend to remind people that we forget that even in religion, most of the founders came from here.
Yep.
So you take Judaism, the founder is a slave that left Egypt. If you take Christianity, it's a descendant of that founder in Palestine.
Yep.
Called Yoshua. And then last but not least, you go to Islam. The Kaaba, where we go do our pilgrimage, was built by someone that left Egypt with his son, Abraham and Ismail. So even that connection between the Arabian Peninsula and Africa started also here. So there's some continuity that you see even today when you're trying to link the two regions. It's phenomenal to see that captured also within your activity.
Absolutely.
And one question I want to ask is about this new phenomenon, because you, as DPI, going from private equity to VC, are probably the early wave, but I think our friends at Helios and also other groups are exploring that. How do you think it affects the landscape long term? Is it a positive? Do you see some risk? What's your view?
Well, I think for our industry, this evolution of having larger scale platforms operating across a number of asset class is a positive movement, right? It means platforms that have a history of being able to galvanize capital from a diverse LP base, being able to bring more capital into other asset classes. I also think it's about expertise as well, being able to bring a different lens into the earlier stage space. But I also have to say that we are one piece of a larger puzzle. What I don't want to see is larger platforms take over the entire VC landscape, because that takes away from the essence of collaboration, and then also hyper-specialized ones as well. And so this is why I'm, one of the things that I'm most worried about in our industry is kind of how many micro funds could be disappearing because of different, funding, challenges, which is kind of what's happening in our industry today. We need those type of funds. We collaborate with them. They're able to, they have a different skill set in some instances, right? And so having a diversity of funders is extremely important. And I see us as bringing institutionalization, capital, expertise, but it doesn't mean that we are superior in any way to other funders that are bringing capital and expertise in their own unique.
Super cool, super cool. I know that a few months back you had a major retreat. You had invited us to attend. Unfortunately, I was in Saudi. What were some memorable moments from galvanizing not only your management, the operational partners, but also some of the founders under one helm?
Yeah. So about a year, we did a large launch event for the Include Fund. And this is a fund that we took over as advisor for. And it was a really great opportunity for us to bring all of our stakeholders together. So our LP group, co-investors, founders, ecosystem players. And it was just an evening of amplifying kind of not only the work of DPI, but the work that we've done together to make sure that this fund succeeds. And I think one of the highlights for me was kind of, we did it in the Grand Egyptian Museum, which I believe is technically open.
Now it's open, but when you invited us, it was not fully open.
Exactly.
They've been having these events, and I think yours were one of the first ones they were having.
Exactly. And it was very special and touching to me to be in such a culturally rich, opulent, beautiful space that honors the traditions and the history of Egypt and beyond, but then also showing the power of technology and what that means for the future of the story that we're all writing together for the region. And so it was a kind of a milestone moment for me and our team. And I'm just glad that, for those that could be there and partake in it, they were able to experience it.
Splendid, splendid. Touch upon your contrast between your life in the US and now in Africa. Now I think you're in the down 15 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously many of us now are having friends from the US talking about moving to Africa, talking about coming to work here. And in your case, it's not theory.
Yeah.
You've done it. And obviously more people are going to try to emulate you. What's your advice for all the incoming passengers?
Oh, I love this. So if I reflect back on my journey 15 years ago, and when I left, I remember when the Peace Corps called me and they said, "Congratulations, Ashley, you are going to Togo." And I said, "Where?" I said, "Tonga?" They're like, "No, Togo." I had never heard of this place, right? And I swiveled around in my chair and I Google image Togo, and I think like 3 pictures came up. There just was not the amount of information that you and I now have today, where we could just go on Instagram or TikTok or something and look up what's happening in a city or what a country is about. And so I literally left the US sight unseen, moved to Africa with 2 suitcases. And I never thought that I wasn't going to come back. I never went back to live and work in America again in a meaningful way. And I've now had the opportunity to live in 4 African countries. So I've lived in Togo, Ghana, Uganda, and now Nigeria. Nigeria has taken the lion's share. I've been there for 8 years.
Wow.
And when I moved, I thought I was just going to be there for like a year or 2. I never thought that I would be there this long, but I've fallen in love. And I like to describe it as, Nigeria has its tentacles kind of wrapped around me, not letting me go. And for those, and I don't know if this is just something to say about Africa, but for anybody that's thinking about leaving their home country, first of all, I think everybody should leave their home country. You don't have to live somewhere else. Just go
Experience something different. Yeah.
And that helps you understand how similar we all are.
Correct.
A lot of our world is wrapped up in trying to point out differences and trying to polarize.
Correct.
And say, you do things wrong, I do things right. But you'll see, the more you travel, the more you experience, if you get an opportunity to live outside of your home country, you'll find that your neighbors care about their family members. They want their children to have good education. They want to live a dignified life and be prosperous and have abundance around them. So it doesn't matter if you're in America or Nigeria. And just understanding that, I think, brings humanity back into the conversation. And that is what my time in Africa has given me. I went from a very individualistic society, the American culture, and that has a lot of positives, right?
Yeah.
And you can have a lot of advancement, but I moved into a collective society where I realized I can't do everything on my own. I need my neighbors, I need my friends. I'm going to say good morning to people that I'm walking, down the street and wave to. And I think it's just a different mentality and mindset. And I have just experienced so much joy and prosperity through that process. And so I have a lot to thank Africa for. Whether I'm in Egypt or in Nigeria or in South Africa, it's just, I feel at home. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. No, I love what you're saying about if we could spend less time focusing on the polar differences, because it's sheer fake, right? Because basically, if you double click in what I was saying earlier about this region and its ties to all religion, when you go to the US, you're left with the impression that Christianity is a Western thing, but there's not a single religion that did not emanate from here. Whether it's Judaism,
Christianity or Islam. It seems always that Islam is the only thing that's owed here, but everything else has been imported from here. They all were created here. The founder, if you think about what we do as a living, saying, where was this founded? Where was this technology from? All book-based religion or technology coming from here. It's just been exported. And we tend to forget it once you're overseas, that those were not created there, were created here. And it's only as you travel, as you leave the home bases, that you realize that it's actually all the same. I think it was Trevor Noah that was saying something very interesting, saying that when you look at even today, when you leave Africa and then you go globally, you realize that the family, the nanny, the good food, all of that were kind of communally available when you're here. It's something that gets sorted. But then you go to the West, those communal services are privatized and then super priced. And something went wrong in the course of the journey, where basically those things that were supposed to be embedded get extracted and now are resold to each person at a pricey manner. But fundamentally, I think with more people like yourself being able to travel the two sides of the river, we shall all merge. With your permission, I'm going to now jump into Fire Chats.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Let's go.
It's on.
Who influenced you the most and why?
Definitely my grandmother. She was widowed very young, in her 40s. And she used that opportunity as a catalyst to go explore the world. And so she would go on travels and she'd come back and she'd get, Ashley, I came back from Japan. This is what a kimono is. We're going to make sushi for dinner. And this is where it is on the map. And so that, I think, helped foster my curiosity for the world. And I also just appreciated her freedom. If I think about what women might have been able to access 50, 60 years ago, she was very much on the vanguard of women in the world. And I love that.
Beautiful. And that explained also your choice of abundance. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be and why?
I would love to master the skill of understanding any language at any given time, because I think language is a connecting force. Like sometimes when somebody speaks your native language, you just see somebody's eyes light up. They get super excited. They connect with you in a different way. And I would love to be able to connect with people through their native tongue.
Super cool. ChatGPT is now here. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm definitely a morning person. After a certain hour, I start to kind of short circuit a little bit. But I like to use my mornings for myself. So I want to invest in myself first so that I can invest in others.
What daily habit keeps you grounded?
Ooh, I think taking out a bit of time for a combination of gratitude, prayer, perspective keeps me in a mindset of whatever I'm tackling that day, it's possible. I've overcome every single obstacle up until this point. I can in the future as well. And I can do that with the spirit of abundance and also patience and understanding.
What do you run away from and what do you run towards?
I run away from unnecessary conflict and I don't mind walking towards conflict at the same time. So if there's something that needs to be said or something that needs to be overcome, I have no problem walking to the fire, but not for things that are draining, unnecessary, or aren't rooted in something very helpful.
Save yourself for phenomenal wars. What is the nicest thing you remember someone doing for you?
So I would say the greatest gift that I've received, and it's not just one thing, but I think the greatest gift that I received was from my parents, who did not impose upon me my path. And they gave me ultimate freedom to explore and design the life that I wanted. And while they might not have understood every step that I made, quitting my job at Goldman Sachs and joining the Peace Corps, they were supportive. Living in Nigeria, away from home, very supportive. Not pressuring me to get married or have kids too early, or not on my own timeline and in my own way. That's how the life that they gave me. And I think that that is probably the greatest gift. I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk about this story if they hadn't have given me that.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's really touching to hear this, especially as someone that's a daddy of a girl. So I definitely can understand where you come from, because parents, we can sometimes be overbearing.
Yeah, you want the best for your children, right? And sometimes your child can see beyond your best, if that makes sense.
And that's what we all pray for. It's just that we tend to use all of our fingers and want to replicate, or to get the kid to replicate our life.
Yeah.
Last question. What stands out to you from being on In the Valley?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. This has been such a great time. I think what stands out the most is the purpose of why we're here is connection and exploration and introducing people to different ideas, different thoughts, and also to the African continent in different ways. And so I think the work that you're doing is amplifying a message that needs to be amplified. And that's what really stands out to me.
Thank you very much, my sister. For a little secret that a lot of people don't know, the Valley choice as a name was made in reference to prophets. Because if you notice all the story of the prophet, they have this common feature where the prophet leaves the valley, goes to some mountain, has a meeting with Angel Gabriel or God, and comes back to the valley to share that message. I always find quite powerful that something in our humanity keeps us away from keeping a secret just to ourselves. So each of those prophets could have decided, this is great, I have the answer. But there's this urge, this mission, this duty to go back to their reluctant brothers and sisters and share that very tasty, difficult message to convey. And yet it becomes an insistent, an obsession. And that's always happens in the valley. And in our view, people like yourself are guests, are somewhat prophet of their fields. And they're coming back to give back.
I love that. What a perfect name and perfect vision.
Oh, great to have you, my sister.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the gift of your time.
Of course. Thank you.
Hey, if you like today's story, press like, leave a comment, subscribe, come back for more stories from founders and funders changing the face of sports, tech, entertainment, and fashion from Africa to the rest of the world. We look forward to seeing you again soon.